Alright, so open world games are everywhere these days, but sometimes you just want something more focused. An experience that tells a tight story, pushes you forward, and doesn't overwhelm you with endless checklists. That's where linear games shine. So today, we're diving into 32 of the absolute best linear games you can play right now. Let's kick things off with Final Fantasy VII Remake. This game feels like Square Enix took the old school masterpiece, put it through a Hollywood level filter, and gave us something fresh while still keeping that nostalgic magic alive. The pacing is super tight, no wandering aimlessly for hours. It just keeps throwing big moments at you, whether it's flashy combat encounters, emotional cutscenes, or those crazy boss fights that feel like events on their own. What's wild is how linear the structure is, but it never feels restrictive. Instead, it pushes you forward with momentum, so you're always hungry for the next chapter. It's flashy, dramatic, and cinematic as hell. And honestly, one of those games that proves linear doesn't mean small. It can feel absolutely epic.
Sorry. Here it comes.
Next, we have God of War 2018. This game is a perfect example of how you can design a big experience but still keep it laser focused. You're constantly moving forward with story beats that never let up, and the combat keeps evolving in such a satisfying way that it never feels repetitive. There's some exploration, sure, but it's all tightly woven into the journey. Nothing bloated, no distractions, just moments that feel earned. What I love most is the pacing, the way the game balances intense action with slower emotional storytelling. It's linear, but in the best way possible, where every step feels deliberate, every encounter meaningful, and you never lose track of the narrative. That's why it holds up as a near-perfect ride from start to finish. And next is Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice. Now, this is a different kind of linear game. Short, intimate, and almost experimental in how it blends gameplay with psychology. It's not about collecting loot or wandering off. It's about being pulled into this intense emotional tunnel where every step feels heavy. The sound design alone is insane. Playing with headphones literally messes with your head in the best way. Whispering voices, unsettling noises, and a constant sense of unease. The combat is stripped back, almost minimal, but it fits perfectly because the focus is on atmosphere and storytelling. It's a straight path forward, no side content, no padding, and that's exactly what makes it work. It doesn't waste your time, it just leaves you with something unforgettable.
Another voice joins us. She once tried to make them go away.
And next we have Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This one feels like a throwback in the best sense. It's all about that cinematic adventure flow where you're solving puzzles, running through beautifully crafted set pieces, and just letting the story sweep you up. There's no need for a massive open world here. The fun comes from moving through these handcrafted levels that feel straight out of a blockbuster movie. The pacing is classic linear gaming, guiding you just enough so you always know where to go, but still letting you have fun with combat and exploration. It nails that theme park ride feeling where every scene is memorable. And honestly, it's refreshing to have a game that doesn't try to do too much, just deliver pure pulpy adventure with zero filler.
Soldato a terra! Bella ripresa!
Next game on the list is Inside, the minimalism at its finest. No dialogue, no hand-holding, just a perfectly guided experience where every step forward feels mysterious and meaningful. It's so tightly designed that you're constantly moving, solving puzzles, and uncovering weird, unsettling imagery without ever being pulled out of the flow. The linearity here is the point. It forces you into this strange world where you never know what's coming, and that sense of surprise keeps the tension alive. It's short, but in a way that makes it feel flawless. No wasted space, no filler, just an eerie, artistic ride from start to finish. And honestly, when it ends, you just sit there for a moment, trying to process what you've just experienced. And next we have Control. This game is like stepping into the strangest government building ever, where everything feels off in the best way possible. What makes it so good as a linear ride is how it constantly pulls you deeper into its weird, shifting world without ever overwhelming you. The pacing is spot on. You're exploring eerie hallways one moment, blasting enemies with telekinetic powers the next, and then the story hits you with another strange twist. It's linear, but it never feels boxed in because the atmosphere is so dense and the action so dynamic. Every mission feels like it's pushing you forward into crazier situations, and honestly, it's one of those games where the focus makes it more addictive. No wasted space, just pure, stylish storytelling wrapped in action. Next is Evil West. This one doesn't care about trends or giant open maps. It's a straight-up action brawler that just keeps throwing enemies at you and letting you wreck them with over-the-top weapons. The linear design actually makes it more fun because there's no downtime. You're just moving from one arena of chaos to the next, with the story giving you just enough reason to keep going. It feels like an old-school PS3/360 era game, but polished up for modern times, and that's not a bad thing at all. Sometimes you don't want complicated systems or endless side quests, you just want to punch vampires into the dirt with a glowing gauntlet and feel like a badass. That's exactly what this game gives you, and it's refreshing in today's bloated landscape. Next, let's talk about Sifu. Few games hit you as hard as this one, literally. It's brutally difficult, but the way it's structured makes it one of the purest linear experiences you'll find. Each level is crafted like a gauntlet, forcing you to get better with every run, and the aging mechanic keeps the pressure on in such a clever way. The environments are so memorable too, from neon-lit nightclubs to traditional temples, each pushing you forward without ever distracting you. It's not about wandering around, it's about refining your skills and seeing yourself grow with every attempt. That's what makes it addictive. You know exactly where to go, what's waiting for you, and the only question is whether you're good enough to make it through. And when you do, the payoff is insane. Next is my favorite game from last year, Silent Hill 2 Remake. This remake captured everything that made the original legendary while modernizing it for today's audience. It's the kind of linear experience that thrives on atmosphere, tight corridors, oppressive fog, and encounters that feel more psychological than physical. The structure is focused, almost suffocating at times, but that's what makes it so effective. It pulls you into the protagonist's descent without letting you breathe. There's no filler, no wandering across massive worlds. It's all about being trapped in this nightmare that slowly unfolds around you. Horror works best when it's linear, when the game controls the pacing and knows exactly when to scare you. And this remake doubled down on that tension, making every step forward something you dread and crave at the same time. Next, we have Resident Evil 4 Remake. This is basically a masterclass in linear game design. The way it constantly balances action, horror, and puzzle solving keeps you glued to the screen. One minute, you're gunning down hordes in a frantic shootout, the next, you're creeping through a creepy corridor with your heart racing, and then suddenly you're in a giant boss fight that feels like a movie set piece. The pacing is relentless, with barely any downtime, and that's what makes it so addicting. It's streamlined without being shallow. Every encounter is purposeful, every location memorable, and the progression never loses momentum. Honestly, it's proof that when done right, a linear structure can feel bigger, scarier, and more satisfying than most open-world games out there. It's tight, polished, and endlessly replayable. And next is The Last of Us Part 1. This is the kind of game that proves why linear storytelling will always have a place in gaming. It doesn't waste a second of your time. Every encounter, every cutscene, every quiet walk through ruined America is there for a reason. The pacing is flawless. Moments of tense combat slide right into emotional scenes that just hit you harder because of how well they're placed. What makes it so special is the way it controls the flow. Almost like a perfectly edited movie, but with just enough gameplay to keep you engaged. You're not distracted by endless icons on a map. You're simply living through a story that unfolds at the perfect speed. It's a ride that pulls you in and doesn't let go until the credits roll, and honestly, it's as close as gaming gets to perfection. And next game on the list is A Plague Tale: Innocence. This one feels like an emotional roller coaster disguised as a stealth adventure. It's linear in the best way, guiding you through plague-ridden villages, dark forests, and ruined castles, all while keeping the tension dialed up. The beauty of it is how the game forces you to keep moving, because the rats, the soldiers, the danger, they never let you sit still. There's no bloat here, just handcrafted levels that are both beautiful and terrifying. The story pacing is excellent, pulling you deeper into Amicia and Hugo's journey without giving you room to lose focus. That's what makes it so impactful. You're locked into their struggle. You feel every moment of fear and desperation, and when the story finally lets you breathe, you realize just how powerful the ride has been.
A monk. The other brother. We're going to have to climb up.
And next we have Alan Wake 2. This game is a narrative-driven thrill ride that feels like a playable TV series. It's moody, it's creepy, and it's laser-focused on pulling you through its story. The linear design is what makes it work. You're not distracted by filler, you're constantly being dragged deeper into the mystery, with each chapter ending like a cliffhanger that makes you desperate to keep going. The combat is tense and cinematic, the environments are eerie and atmospheric, and the pacing keeps you glued from one episode to the next. It's not about exploration, it's about immersion, and Remedy nails it here. You're not just playing a game, you're being told a story that only works because of how tightly it's controlled. It's one of those rare titles where you don't even want to break away because the flow is just too good. And next game is Black Myth Wukong, the game that screams tightly crafted linear action at its best. It's flashy, it's brutal, and it's absolutely dripping with style. The linear structure means you're going to be going from one jaw-dropping boss encounter to the next, and that's exactly the kind of pacing that makes action games shine. No distractions, no padding, just pure forward momentum through insane mythical landscapes and fights that look like they belong in a movie. The combat looks heavy and precise, the set piece is massive and theatrical, and the atmosphere so thick you can almost feel it through the screen. It is one of those experiences where every chapter feels like an event, and the tight linear design is going to make it unforgettable. And next is Gris. This is one of those games where the linearity makes it feel like art in motion. You're not meant to get lost. You're meant to flow through this emotional, dreamlike journey where the visuals and music do most of the talking. It's short, it's focused, and it doesn't try to distract you with side paths or collectibles. It just pulls you gently forward step by step as the world around you transforms. The pacing is slow and deliberate, but that's what makes it powerful. Every little animation, every musical swell feels perfectly placed. It's not about challenge, it's about experience. And because it's so tightly controlled, it leaves a huge emotional punch by the end. It's one of those rare games that sticks with you, even though it only asks for a few hours of your time. Next, let's talk about It Takes Two. This game is basically a masterclass in how to make a linear adventure feel endlessly fresh. Every single chapter introduces a brand new mechanic, so you never settle into a routine. One moment you're shrinking down and running through a garden, the next you're flying on a plane made of underwear, and then you're solving puzzles in a completely different style. The genius here is the pacing. It never drags, never repeats itself, and it's always pulling you forward with new ideas. Because it's co-op only, the game forces you to keep moving together, and that's what makes it feel like such a tight ride. No open world distractions, no grind, just a focused journey packed with creativity that constantly surprises you right up until the very end. Next we have Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, a short, sweet, and surprisingly emotional game. The linear design is perfect for what it's trying to do, because it's not about branching choices or exploration, it's about guiding you through a carefully structured journey that builds toward its emotional gut punch. The way the controls tie into the story is pure genius, making the gameplay itself part of the narrative. Every environment feels handcrafted to keep you moving forward, from quiet villages to dangerous mountains, and nothing overstays its welcome. It's a game you can finish in one sitting, and honestly, that's the best way to play it, because the pacing is so tight it feels like you're watching a story unfold in real time. It's one of those experiences you won't forget. And next is a little less known game, but I absolutely love this game, Children of the Sun. An indie gem, linear in the most experimental way possible. It takes you down this dark puzzle shooter path where every level is a new challenge to solve rather than just another arena to fight in. The structure keeps you laser focused because the game wants you to learn its mechanics and think creatively without wandering off. It's short, sharp, and weirdly addictive, almost like playing through a series of deadly puzzles strung together with just enough narrative to keep you hooked. The linear flow makes the whole thing feel tight and purposeful, like every level is a new idea being tested on you. It's not the kind of game you get lost in, it's the kind you sink into and finish in a burst, and by the end, you're glad it didn't waste a second. And next is Hi-Fi Rush. This one is pure fun from start to finish, and the linear design is exactly what makes it work so well. The rhythm-based combat keeps you locked into the flow, and the levels feel like a rock concert that just keeps escalating. The story pushes you forward with charm and humor, but the real magic is how the pacing syncs with the music. Every boss fight, every stage feels like it's building to a new crescendo. There's no pointless filler, no wandering around open maps. It's just a stylish, focused ride that keeps you engaged because it knows exactly when to throw in something new. The best part is, by being so linear, it feels like the game is choreographed, like you're moving through a perfectly timed performance, and that's what makes it so addictive. Next is Perfect 10 out of 10 Linear Journey. This is the definition of less is more. It's linear in the most elegant way possible, pulling you through a desert with no words, no HUD, just visuals and music guiding you forward. The pacing is deliberate, every area blending seamlessly into the next, and the simplicity of the design is what makes it so powerful. You're not stopping to do side quests, you're not grinding, you're just moving forward one step at a time toward a mountain in the distance. The emotional weight sneaks up on you, especially if you encounter another player along the way, and the ending lands so hard because the entire experience is focused on that single destination. It's proof that a linear game doesn't need complexity, it just needs heart, and Journey has it in spades. And next we have Mirror's Edge. This game is all about momentum, and the linearity is what makes it shine. You're constantly sprinting across rooftops, sliding under pipes, and vaulting over obstacles, and because the levels are designed like corridors of parkour, it feels incredibly smooth and satisfying. There's no room to get lost or distracted, it just funnels you into this high-speed flow that keeps your adrenaline pumping. The minimalistic city design is gorgeous, but it's also functional. It's like a giant playground built for you to run across in a straight line. What's cool is that every jump feels risky, every fall looks deadly, and the game thrives on keeping you locked into that razor-thin margin between success and failure. It's short, direct, and unforgettable, especially if you love games that are all about precision movement. And next is Portal 2. This is basically linear puzzle design perfected. You're always moving from one chamber to the next, each puzzle teaching you something new and then ramping up the complexity in such a smooth way. The pacing is flawless. You're never stuck in one place too long, but you're also never left without a satisfying aha moment. What makes it special is how the humor and storytelling blend right into the gameplay, so you're laughing at GLaDOS or Wheatley while also scratching your head over some mind-bending portal trick. Because it's linear, the game controls exactly when to surprise you, when to crank up the stakes, and when to pull the rug out from under you. It's smart, funny, and endlessly clever, and honestly, it's one of the best examples of how tight linear design makes a game unforgettable.
There. If you have any questions, just remember what I said in slow motion. Test on your own recognizance.
And next we have Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands. This one feels like a throwback to when action-adventure games weren't trying to be open-world epics, but were instead about sharp, focused level design. It's linear in the best way. Corridors filled with wall-running puzzles, combat arenas where you test your skills, and just enough story to keep you moving forward. The time powers add that classic Prince of Persia flair, letting you rewind mistakes and keep the flow going without breaking the momentum. The pacing is simple simple but effective. You're always climbing, fighting, or solving, and it never drags on longer than it needs to. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel, it's just delivering a pure linear action platforming ride, and sometimes that's exactly what you want, a game that's straightforward, stylish, and fun. Next we have Quantum Break. This one is Remedy doing what they do best. Tight, linear storytelling blended with stylish gameplay. The structure is almost like a TV series, broken into episodes, and that pacing works perfectly because it keeps you hooked with cliffhangers and big reveals. The combat itself is flashy, with time powers making every encounter feel like a spectacle, but it's the controlled flow of the story that really makes it special. You're always being pulled forward, whether through cinematic cutscenes or tense firefights, and the game never gives you time to get bored. The linearity here isn't a weakness, it's the backbone. It's what makes the narrative so strong and the action so memorable. By the end, you feel like you've lived through a season of a slick sci-fi show, and that's exactly what Remedy was going for.
Different parking lots, and you just had to pick this one.
And next is Spec Ops: The Line. This one is brutal, not because of difficulty, but because of how the story hits you. The linear design is absolutely essential here, because it forces you down a path you can't escape, mirroring the descent into madness the game wants you to experience. It's structured like a standard military shooter, but that's the trick. The straightforward, corridor-like missions keep you locked in, while the narrative slowly tears away the illusion of heroism. There's no wandering off, no escaping the choices, you just keep marching forward, and with every step, it gets darker and heavier. By the end, you realize the linearity wasn't just a design choice, it was the storytelling tool that made the whole thing work. It's not a fun ride, but it's an unforgettable one, and that's why it stands out even today.
That hotel back at the storm wall? No, those can't be the civvies that got kidnapped. It's not possible.
Split Fiction is a boundary-pushing co-op action-adventure from Hazelight Studios, creators of It Takes Two. Players control Mio and Zoe, two writers, one of sci-fi, the other of fantasy, who become trapped inside their own stories after testing a machine designed to extract creative ideas. The game blends platforming, puzzle solving, and cinematic combat across wildly shifting environments, from dragon-filled fantasy realms to neon-lit cyberpunk cities. Each level introduces unique mechanics tailored to the characters' genres, requiring tight collaboration and split-screen coordination. With emotional storytelling and surreal humor, Split Fiction delivers a genre-hopping journey about creativity, memory, and friendship.
Let's hope there's a plan to safely separate us and return me back to my story. I wouldn't bet on it.
And next we have Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Yeah, it's got some exploration baked in, but when you zoom out, this is still a very directed adventure. The story pushes you along from planet to planet with carefully placed missions that keep the pace tight. You're always heading toward the next big cinematic moment, and the game knows exactly when to hit you with intense combat, when to give you a breather, and when to drop those epic lightsaber duels. The linearity is what makes it feel like Star Wars. You're not supposed to be lost in endless side content. You're supposed to feel like you're on a grand journey with clear stakes. And because it's so structured, every chapter feels like a new episode of a space opera, keeping you locked in for the whole ride. And next is The Order 1886. This game gets flack for being too short, but honestly, that's what makes it memorable. It's one of the most unapologetically linear games of the last decade, and it's all about giving you a cinematic experience from beginning to end. The pacing is tight, gunfights, quick set pieces, gorgeous cutscenes, and there's zero fat. You just keep moving forward through this beautifully detailed world, and while it may not be the longest journey, it's polished and stylish enough that it feels like a blockbuster movie you get to play. The linearity here is its strength, because it never loses focus, never overwhelms you with busy work, and instead just drops you into a moody, atmospheric ride that sticks with you long after the credits.
Rebels are in retreat. The Royal Army is en route. They will contain the threat from here.
And next we have Vampire. This game thrives on atmosphere, and the linear design is what keeps that mood intact. You're moving through dark, plague-stricken London, and the focus is always on your choices and the story, rather than getting lost in endless side quests. It's structured to keep you heading forward, one narrative beat at a time, and the pacing works because it locks you into that brooding gothic vibe without letting you drift away. The combat and RPG elements are there, but the story is always the main event, and the linearity makes sure you never lose sight of it. It's the kind of game where the path is narrow, but it feels deliberate, like the developers wanted you to live inside a specific atmosphere without breaking immersion, and it totally works. And next is What Remains of Edith Finch. This is basically linear storytelling perfection. It's designed as a straight path through a strange, tragic family history, and every room you walk into is another perfectly crafted vignette. The pacing is incredible. You're pulled through a series of wildly different gameplay styles, but they're all stitched together into a ride that feels seamless. There's no choice, no detours, but that's what makes it so impactful. It forces you to experience each story exactly as intended, and by the end, the weight of it all hits you like a ton of bricks. The linearity is what gives it that emotional punch. You're not distracted, you're just completely absorbed in this haunting narrative. It's short, focused, and absolutely unforgettable, proving that sometimes the straightest path is also the most powerful.
Was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had...
Second last game on today's list is the amazing Rise of the Tomb Raider. The beauty of this game is how it strikes the perfect middle ground between cinematic linear storytelling and just enough exploration to feel adventurous. The levels funnel you forward in such a smart way that you rarely notice you're on a guided path, yet the pacing never drops. The narrative pushes you into one intense situation after another. Snowy mountains, hidden tombs, crumbling ruins, all choreographed to keep the momentum alive. Combat and puzzle solving blend seamlessly, with big cinematic moments acting as the glue. The linear structure makes every step feel purposeful, every climb worth it, and every discovery part of the larger narrative. It's one of those experiences that grips you from the start and never lets you breathe until the credits roll. Finally, we have the best linear game of all times, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. This one feels like the absolute pinnacle of what linear, story-driven games can achieve. It's polished to perfection, with each chapter flowing into the next like scenes in an adventure film. The linear design ensures every set piece hits with maximum impact. Whether you're driving through a chaotic chase sequence, scaling cliffs in Madagascar, or unraveling mysteries in abandoned pirate hideouts. There's no wasted space, no padding, just pure narrative and action rhythm working hand in hand. And that's what makes the linearity so brilliant. You're always being guided through breathtaking locations while the story keeps tightening around you. It's cinematic gaming at its finest, and honestly, the perfect way to close out a list of the best linear experiences you can play right now.
Hi there! My turn!
And there you have it, 32 of the best linear games you can play right now. Which of these is your favorite? Or did I miss one that deserves a spot? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more lists like this. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.